So news that Eddie Jones is going to stay with England. It was rumoured at least a day or two ago and has been confirmed in the last 24 hours that he is going to stick with England until the 2023 Rugby World Cup. So I don't think this news comes as a huge surprise to many people. He has talked about if the circumstances were right that he would stay with England, and there's not really a real reason for him to leave, I would imagine. He's got the next World Cup to look forward to. You would say he's had a pretty successful period since he's taken over. Took over after the 2015 World Cup from Stuart Lancaster, which was a pretty disappointing campaign. They've had a pretty successful time under Eddie. Not all smooth sailing. If he sees out this contract, the article I read said he will be the longest serving coach for England rugby ever. He will overtake Clive Woodward, which is quite a achievement in itself. But yeah, you don't get a contract that long unless you're doing a pretty good job. As much as some people may not like to admit it, because first couple of years, won Six Nations, got a Grand Slam. So that's a pretty good start from where they were at the 2015 Rugby World Cup. And then there was a bit of a poor spell. One particularly poor Six Nations and Tour de South Africa, which they ended up losing. So it hasn't been all plain sailing, but you would have to say even then he kind of turned it around pretty well to peak well for the Rugby World Cup. And they made the final, so they got very close. Man, the sun has just started pouring into this room. But yeah, he's mentioned that, what did he say? His actual wording was, the project isn't yet finished. So essentially he's got unfinished business. He wants to win a Rugby World Cup. He's lost two of them now. He lost the one with Australia to England, and now he's lost the 2019 one to South Africa. England are a force under Eddie Jones, as much as we may or may not like to admit it, as I mentioned, because he's not the most popular guy. Like, England are universally the team that people like to beat for whatever reason. And the fact that Eddie Jones is the coach and he likes to play those media games sometimes, I think kind of exacerbates that fact a bit. So people who like to hate on England rugby will have a reason to do so for the next 4 years. But yeah, he's certainly an entertainer, and you can't argue with his record. I had a look. They said in the article I read his win rate is like 78%, 42 out of 54 games, which is pretty solid. They had an 18-match winning streak, which was, again, very impressive. I think, is that an equaling record, like for a tier 1 nation? I'll have to double check that. But you look at his record against certain teams, and it is very good. 5 from 5 against Argentina, 7 from 7 against Australia. Other teams, he's been pretty good without being perfect. 6 wins, 2 losses with Wales. 3 wins, a loss, and a draw against Scotland. Obviously, Italy, he's got a perfect record. 3 from 5 against France is good without being great. 4 from 6 against Ireland, again, is pretty solid. They did have that one big win in 2019. New Zealand, they're 50-50, although the most important one was the Rugby World Cup, obviously, which was a very dominant win. And the one loss they had to New Zealand under Eddie was very close. And South Africa, they are 50-50, so 3 wins, 3 losses. The big one, obviously, was the Rugby World Cup, which was pretty disappointing from an English point of view. But, yeah, he's had a pretty good time of it. And you would have to say nobody really wants to play England in any kind of knockout game at the moment, because they are just one of the best teams in the world. Still, I can get what he says when he says that there's unfinished business and there's still things to work on, definitely. The loss in the Six Nations this year, before it was all postponed, to the Italians, geez, that would have been a nightmare, to the French. That one was a bit disappointing, and against the resurgent French team, you might have thought that England would have had the advantage having kept their coach. A bit of continuity, but not the case. But they have bounced back well, and as it stood when it was called off, or at least postponed, England are sitting at the top of the table. So, yeah, like I said, he's not the most popular chap, but he's a pretty good rugby coach. The fact that England pinched him before the Stormers could get him all those years ago seems to have proved like a pretty shrewd bit of business. I'm sure he's loving his time with England Rugby because he is able to get things sorted his own way, and he's got quite a pool of talent to work with. So it's one we'll watch. You guys let me know your thoughts on the appointment. Do you think it's a good one for England? Do you think it gives them a better shot at winning the 2023 Rugby World Cup? I'm not sure when we're going to get these guys back in action. Nobody is sure at the moment because all rugby is on hold for the moment. But we'll see. But you guys let me know your thoughts, and I'll talk to you again soon. See you later.